past couple of years have been really tough. I'm a dad, and so my son, he turns 3 actually in June, so I'm really looking forward to that. But I think being a dad, and then my father, he hasn't been doing well. He had cancer. He actually just beat. We found it last month, but he had 3 different types of cancer over the past couple of years. And so I think my dad going through that, and then also raising a young son in a co-parenting situation, has his trials and tribulations. And so I'm a little tired, if I'm just being honest right now. As far as dealing with it emotionally, if I'm being honest, I didn't really have a lot of time and space to do that. Because again, I'm raising a child, I have a job, and I have my own obligations, and then also showing up for my mom, my father, my brother. There just wasn't a lot of time and space to how am I feeling? How am I dealing with this? It's you're just trying to get through each moment, and throughout the days, just trying to make it to the other side. Today also marks the 14th anniversary of when I gave my dad a kidney. And, and so to see him now beat cancer, it's really a special moment. And, but seeing him go through that over the past few years, and of course, being the G that he is, he's never complaining, never woe is me, just always all right, I'm gonna get through it. All right, next test, I'm on it. All right, I gotta go do this. All right, let's go do it. And I try to capture some of that resolve and strength in how I'm feeling right now. You hear all stories all the time about Black women in particular would go into a doctor and say hey, I'm having these pains or I'm not feeling well. And the doctors are oh yeah, all right, well, we'll give you some Tylenol and to manage the pain. And then they die. And, I would hate that for that to happen to my family. And so I think, you want to almost display your humanity, which I think is something Black people always try to do, right? It's when you're in a room and you're code switching, or you're trying to make yourself at times maybe even small to ensure that people are not threatened by you. All that stuff is kind of tied together. It's you're just trying to be yo, I'm a human being like you. I feel like you. And I think about this in fatherhood too, right? It's you need to know that there's a Black dad that cares for this kid. There's a Black dad that's showing up to all the school functions. There's a Black dad that's cooking dinner for his kid, And I think some of that is almost a self, it's you're just you're trying to show that you exist. You hear stories all the time about Black dads are not there, Black men are not stepping up. And it's no, we are here, we're doing the work. And sometimes you feel you're erased by society, or society doesn't believe you exist, or society doesn't fully see you. And it's man, I'm busting my ass, trying to make sure that all the people around me are good. That's all I do all the time. It's is everyone else around me good? And so very rarely am I thinking about oh, am I good? Because you're trying to make sure that everyone else is good. My brother and I are really different people in every way you can possibly imagine. During COVID, we actually got really close. We started FaceTiming and texting more. And it's funny, my brother doesn't talk to me. We don't talk every single day, but there are these moments where we have really deep conversations about his career, his life, his goals, his aspirations. When I'm back in New York, we'll go get a beer and go out to dinner and build with each other. And that was really born out of COVID. Just making sure, because he lived in Brooklyn, and making sure that he was good. And so with my dad going through everything he was going through, and my brother really showing up in a really big way, Like that got us really close and like really like being able to be there for each other. You don't get to choose your family, you know? And so it's like, these are the people God chose to be in your life for you. And no matter what you're going through, like they love you unconditionally. And, you know, I was blessed enough to grow with both of my parents in our household. And although things weren't perfect, you know, having that support system, having those people there that, you know, that care for you no matter what is going on is really special. To have that, like, that support system, like that, almost like if you're like falling backwards, like knowing that you have people there that are gonna catch you, is everything. I think both of my parents like tried to like do the best that they could with what they knew. Like they knew they wanted their kids to go to college, but neither one of my parents had gone to college. And so where my mom had shortcomings, like she like reached out to people like, hey, like, I think my son's special. And I want to make sure that he's good. Like, are there some programs I could put him in? Are there like some, you know, mentorship programs that he could look into? And by my mom asking those questions, like I was able to get into like this great internship program that then led to me like going on the HBCU college tour, which then led to me going to Hampton University. And that was all because my mom was just like, listen, I don't know a lot about college, but like I know my kids are going to college and I want to make sure that they get tapped into all the right things. And like, that's the type of stuff that like I will forever love my parents for. Is like, you know, they always leaned in to make sure that my brother and I, like, that they were thinking about our future at every turn. If I'm back in New York and I stay at my parents' house, my mom will not go to sleep until like she hears me coming in the house. And then she's been that way like as long as I've been going out. You know, I'm 38 years old, and like that's still what she does. When I was growing up, like we weren't allowed to wear do-rags outside the house. We weren't allowed to wear hoodies up when we left the house. And at the time, it was so frustrating. It's like my mom's like, you know, controlling how I dress and what I'm wearing. But like now I understand like that all came from a place of fear. Like she's like, you know, she didn't want, you know, this is an era of stop and frisk and all that. And I think like, you know, looking back on it, like I understand like that was her way of trying to keep us safe. One of the things about having a young son, a young Black son now that's like interesting is that everywhere you go, like, you know, my son is a very, very cute, a cute boy. And so everywhere we go, like everyone's constantly like, oh my God, he's so cute. Oh, he's so handsome. Oh, he's gonna be a heartthrob when he grows up. Oh, ladies, watch out, you know, all that talk. And that always does two things in my mind, right? It's like the first thing is like, you know, a lot of the people that are saying that today, when he's like 14 years old, will see him in a very different light. You know, like there'll be places he goes when he's 14 and they'll see him as a threat. They'll see him as a danger in society, and that scares me so much. And so like, my son's 3 years old, I'm already thinking about when do I have the talk with him about like, you know, how to engage with police or like, you know, how to like just navigate all the things about being Black in America. Like I know that like I have to have that conversation with him, and he's 3 years old and I'm already thinking about that. As a Black person in America, you have your whole life to worry about dealing with racism, white supremacy, microaggressions, you know, like all the things that, all the stress and anxiety that comes with being Black in this country. And going to an HBCU is like a 4-year oasis from all of that. Like you're not worrying about a teacher, you know, being a bad actor because of what you look like, or the campus, you know, police racially profiling you when you're out in front of your dorm at night. Like it's like 4 years away from like being in any of that. And you're able just to like grow as a person and get the armor that you need to show up in the world. Going to Hampton University was the greatest decision of my life because it gave me all of the armor that I need to be able to move through the world. And like one of the things that they do at HBCUs, and from all my friends that have gone to different HBCUs, I think there's like a through line around like HBCUs are not just about admissions; they're about a mission, and that shows up in like, we're here to like create like confident Black people that can go in the world and show up as their best selves and be confident in who they are, whose they are, and where they come from. And so going to an HBCU was like the first time as a dark-skinned person that I also felt like fully received. Even growing up in New York, like I got called darkness, I got called, tar baby, I got called all types of names because of my complexion. And at Hampton was the first time women would come up to me and be like, I love your complexion, like, or I really like dark-skinned men. I was blown away when I would hear that. As a freshman, I was like, I never heard that like as a thing that people, as that you would hear from women. And so it was like this really like incredible experience of like feeling comfortable in my skin and being able to grow as a young man into a man during those 4 years. Man, it had to be about maybe 30 schools over the course of like 7 days. And at Morehouse, I will never forget this. There was like this, our tour guide was this 19-year-old boy or young man, I should say, from the Bronx. And this dude had on a black suit and like a maroon colored tie, which is the Morehouse colors. And this guy was like, I was 16 at the time, and this guy's 19. And the words he was using, I'll never forget, he was like, the tapestry of our university. I'm like, tapestry? I'm like, I've never heard nobody like my age talking like this. And just his confidence and the way he carried himself, I was like, man, like when I turned 19, like I want to be like this guy. Like I want to like be so confident in how I move through the world that like I could be given the tour like this. And I was like, and also again, he's from the South Bronx. I'm like, I'm from Queens. Like, this is a guy that like grew up like not too far from me. And like, he's like in this space talking like this and like moving like that and dressed like this. Like I was like, it was like seeing an alien. It was like, I was really, really like blown away by that. I was like, man. And in that moment, I was like, I want to go to an HBCU. Like, I want to be able to like, again, like, I don't think I didn't have this language at the time, but I just knew, I was like, man, like, I like what I see in front of me. And like, that's where I want to be. Like, that's who I want to be. At Hampton University, there's a saying that the old president used to say. He said, what do you call a Hampton University grad in 5 years? Boss. And like, that's like kind of the mentality that they like instill in you. Hampton's motto is a standard of excellence. And like, that's really the goal. It's like at every part of your life, like we want to help you become excellent at everything that you do. And like when you go in the world, like you're representing Hampton University. And I just like, there's just something that's special about that. And like, you go down the line, you meet someone that graduated from Spelman or Morehouse or Howard or A&T or FAMU, like there is a, like, I have my back straight. I have my head held high, and I'm happy to be in the room with anybody. There's no room that I don't feel like I don't belong in. To contextualize this moment, this is May 2007. So like this is before like the election, Hillary Clinton's leading in the polls at this time, I think by like 30 points. But like, I knew about him and like, saw his debates, and I was like, I like his aura. So we go up to Manchester, New Hampshire to hear him speak. And I'm like blown away. Like it was everything we know about Obama now. Like at that time, I was like, man, like this brother's so smooth and cool. Like, man, I'm like, so I said to this guy next to me, I'm like, man, I think this guy can win. And he's like, you think so? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, my name is Hans Riemer. I'm the National Youth Vote Director for the campaign. Do you want to join the campaign? I'm like, fuck yeah. This Obama thing kind of happens. And, I work in the administration, work on like the BP oil spill and work on the Recovery Act and all these incredible like initiatives. It like changed my life. I always tell people all the time, like it's the most incredible job I had, because like you would come home from work and you would turn on the news and like they would be talking about like the things you were working on. And like I can't tell you what that felt like when you like being in like BP oil spill like briefings, you know, and like all these people around like the country trying to figure out like, all right, how do we like plug this hole of all this oil that's like filling up in the Gulf of Mexico? Like, what do we need to do? Like, who do we need to bring in? Like, all right, let's go down to BP headquarters and like, you know, work with the scientists down there. Like seeing all this happen in real time and then going home at night and hearing like, you know, everyone in the news talking about that, was like, man, like what I'm doing is like really impactful and really important. You know, the saying is that if you don't do politics, like politics will do you. And if you're not involved, it's like resources from your neighborhood could be taken, your healthcare could be taken, your social security could be taken. And so like, I don't think there's like really a choice on if you're gonna be involved or not. I mean, we're seeing it right now with Trump. It's like, it's really heartbreaking to see what's happening here in LA right now. And it breaks my heart because it's so immoral, it's evil, and it's un-American. And we all knew this, like, we all knew this was gonna happen. Like, there was no guesswork in this. Like, even, like, you know, I don't believe this, but like, even if you thought in 2016 that like, man, like, it's not gonna be as bad as you know, as people are saying. Like, we had the trial run for 4 years. He told us what he was gonna do. And the fact that there are so many people that still thought like it's okay, like I'm still with him. Like I don't care, like I'm voting for him. It like breaks my heart. And there's so many people that are now suffering because of that. I just wish that we would have more alignment in like that approach to politics in our communities. And I think like there's a gap in that right now. And I think we're seeing the manifestation of that in like Trump's rise. You know, you look at where Trump did the best in this last election. You know, it was in Dearborn with Arab Americans. It was in the Bronx and Queens with immigrants. It was in, you know, Southeast LA with a Latino population. And it's like, and Miami-Dade with, you know, a strong Cuban and Venezuelan population. And it's like, I'm sometimes so really confused on like how we got to this place. And, you know, I hope that, you know, moving forward, we can find, you know, that unity and that like, and we could hold hands into like, where do we go from here? And like, how do we hold hands and do that together? And understand that like, you know, proximity to white supremacy or proximity to whiteness is not safety. There's like all this conversation now around masculinity, right? Like, oh, like toxic masculinity this and toxic masculinity that. And then you ask people like, what does non-toxic masculinity look like? And a lot of people don't have an answer. And, you know, I just really want to show up for my son in a way that's like showing up with it for him and like having courage. I want him to know like, you know, courage is important. You know, having stoicism is important. Having discernment is important. Protecting others, the least of these, like, you know, providing for others, like that's what masculinity is about. That's what manhood looks like. And so like, that's really important to me. And like, as far as like why I want to kind of instill in my son is like, you know, masculinity is a good thing is my point. Like, you know, being strong, having physical strength is important. Having discernment is important. Having emotional regulation is important. And I just want him to like be able to like carry that throughout his life. As I'm trying to like get in shape and lose some weight, one of the things that like my trainer would tell me is like, yo, you gotta just like go out there and walk, man. And so it became like this like fitness thing, but it also became like this mental and emotional thing. Like walking first thing in the morning around my neighborhood has been like, super helpful. So like that's been like a great practice. And it's like that saying of like, you know, a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. And so it's like constantly like keeping my body moving in that way has been like really helpful and like helping me feel better about myself. And starting my day with that has like really helped like just like raise my just like raise my attitude, and like raise like my positivity in the world. And so like just like constantly like moving my body and being more in tune with my body has been really helpful in that. You can't outperform your belief system, you know? And so it's like every day, like practicing, you know, positive mantras, meditation, speaking life and love into myself and the people around me, and allowing that to like kind of help, you know, drive like how I show up in the world. And so like that's kind of what I try to lean into the most is like how do I develop a consistent belief system of like things will get better, things will be good, you can rest, you don't have to worry about that thing, everything's gonna be all right, God's got you. Like how do you like just bring, you know, that belief system and like kind of almost like, you know, surround yourself with that every single day. So as things are coming at you in life, it's like, you just know that like everything's gonna be all right. And so I always try to lean into that as best as I can.